After a year at Oxford University, Edward went to fight in the First World War. He wrote, "I lived in a house with 25 other soldiers. At night, he talked about our lives and our families. It was very interesting. I could speak freely to different people, rich and poor, young and old, but I also saw the blood and noise of war. One day, in 1916, my driver took me to the town of Luz in Belgium. I got out of the car and walked to the top of the hill. Down below me there was heavy fighting and I felt very sad. An hour later, I returned to my car. I will never forget what I saw. My driver was dead. While I was away, somebody shot him in the neck. When the war finished in 1980s, Edward returned to Buckingham Palace. One night, he was talking to his father in the dining room. "I don't understand why countries fight," the prince said. "The world has finished, but nothing has changed. There are still millions of poor and hungry people. It's not right. Somebody must do something." "Well," King George repeated, "you can change the world if you sit by the fire. You must travel. Meet people, talk to them, listen to what they said, and then when you are king, you can make the world a better place." And so, in 1920, Edward left England again. During the next 5 years, he traveled 24 million kilometers and visited 50 different countries. He saw India, Argentina, Nigeria, Mexico, New Zealand, Germany, and Japan. When he came to Toronto, in Canada, there were 50 million people in the streets to meet him. Everywhere thousands of people waited to see him. Streets were crowded of 90 million in Cape Town, 30 million in Paris, 50 million in New York, and 75 million in Melbourne. Edward is the first royal star, one newspaper wrote, and he is now the most famous man in the world. In the old days, princes were cold and bored, but Edward is different. He gets out of his car and walks down the street. Every 2 or 3 minutes he stops and speaks. He laughs, he smiles, he shakes 1,000 hands. He is a man of the people with a heart of gold. In the autumn of 1930s, Edward went to stay with his friend, Lord and Lady Furness. This is how he described the weekend in a book called A King's Story. One Saturday, the weather was cold and windy. It was raining heavily, so we could not ride our horse. We decided to stay in the house and have an early lunch with some of Lady Furness's friends. At 1 o'clock, Wallis arrived with her husband. She was beautifully dressed, and she smiled all the time. She spoke with Lord Furness for a few minutes, and then Lady Furness brought her over to see me. "Sir, I would like you to meet one of my dearest." and sweetest American friend, Mr. Wally Simpson. How do you do, Miss Simpson? I said. Please come and sit down. Lady Furniss left us and we began to talk. I could see the Wallis was not feeling very well. She had a bad cold and her eyes were red. I'm afraid that our English halls aren't very warm, I said. We don't have American central heating here. There was a long silence. Mrs. Simpson turned her face and looked out of the window. Then he said, You have disappointed me, sir. And why is that? I asked. Because everybody asks me about American central heating. I saw that the Prince of Wales would talk about something more interesting. I began to laugh. What's the matter, sir? Wallis asked. Have I said something wrong? No, I repeated. I'm laughing because you didn't lie to me. You told me the truth. But why is the funny? Doesn't everybody do that? One day, I will be king of Edinburgh, I repeated, and people are afraid of me. If I say that the sky is yellow, they said, Yes, sir, you are right. If I say that Wednesday is the first day of the week, they said, Yes, sir, you are right. And if I say that Scotland is bigger than Canada, they say, Yes, sir, you are right. But you told me that I was boring. You told me the truth. I like that. There was another silence and the woman began to laugh. Can I say one more thing, sir? Yes, Mr. Simpson. What is it? Is your trousers, sir? My trousers? Yes, sir. They are black and your shoes are brown. Those two colors don't look right together. I stood up and looked in the mirror. Yes, Mr. Simpson, you are right. I look very strong. The next time we meet, I will be better dressed. When lunch was ready, we walked straight into the dining room. I saw at one end of the table and Wally sat at the other end. I was watching her very carefully. I saw how beautiful her hands were. She began talking to Lady Furniss, and then, a few minutes later, she turned and smiled at me. I feel very happy. After lunch, Williams came over to say goodbye. My husband and I have to leave now, sir. We are going to another party in London. I wanted to speak to her, but I could not find the right words. I don't know why. We shook hands and Wallis walked away. I went into the next room and sat down near Lady Furniss. Tell me about Mr. Simpson, I said. What would you like to know? She asked. Everything, I said. Then perhaps, sir, you would like to walk in the garden. We can talk more freely there. We stood up and left the house by the back door. We walked slowly through the tree, and Lady Furniss told me about Wallis.